Alright guys, another game that I absolutely loved, that I adored. It was actually a game called The Legend of Zelda. And one of the reasons why I love this game so much is because of the game called Smash Brothers. And that's, if you wanted to go back to the very first Smash Brothers, I give that about a C. It's okay, but not great. I thought Smash Brother Melee did a great job. I give that a A. Metal Gear Solid, or Smash Brothers Brawl, I think it's an A. And, Smash Brothers, the 3DS version, I think gets about a B. And then, of course, Smash Brothers for the Switch gets about an A. It's good. Alright, that's the one reason why I wanted to do all the games with Joe, but Joe was a pussy. He didn't want to do all them. But, you know, while Joe and I were living together, I wanted to do a series where him and I could play them all together. But he was a pussy. Of course, he didn't want to do it. So, let's start off with Zelda, shall we? The Zelda, Nintendo. Now, I know I did hear Zelda Master do all the Zelda games. Some of them I agree with, some of them I disagree with. He actually gave The Legend of Zelda a D. I kind of somewhat agree with him, but I somewhat disagree with him. I don't think it's that bad to get a D, but it's not great. I wouldn't rank it any higher than a C because it's so hard. But I don't think it deserves a D. I think it definitely deserves a C. That's just my opinion. I think a C is an appropriate choice. So I think a C would be appropriate. And I'm going to give a C. Zelda 2. Now, he gave this an F. I'm actually going to give this a D. It's not the worst game, but it's not great either. Because of the fact that if you don't have this game on like a system where you could have a load and a save state, it's pretty much going to be impossible for you to beat Zelda 2. So I was able to do it because I have a load and a save state, and I was able to keep loading it. That's the only way I could ever beat this game. I would have never beaten it without it. So I definitely give this a D. It's not the worst game out there, but it's not great either. So he gave it an F. I disagree. Link to the Past. I actually agree with Zelda Master here. This is the first game that they did right. He gave it about an A. I agree with him 100%. I think it's an A. I think A Link to the Past is a great game. I mean, it really is. It's a great game. They did it right. You know, how it's kind of like you got to do 3 temples, and you get to open up the game, and you get to do, I think, 7 more temples after that. So there's, like, I believe 10 bosses. I think Link to the Past did a phenomenal job with all that, how you got the 3 pendants, and then the game opened up. And I believe you can go to any one of the 3 areas, or 7 areas to complete it. But I agree. I think A Link to the Past definitely did a great job with this. And yeah, I definitely agree with him. I think an A is an appropriate. So let me check my phone here. Can you do any dungeon in order in A Link to the Past? There are many orders in which you can do the 7 dungeons. In fact, you could complete them in any order. Yes. So yes, you can do them in any order. That's the one reason why I like that game. So I give it an A. It's not great, so I can't give it an S. But it's definitely not horrible. I can't give it any worse than an A, so it has to be an A. Alright, the next game, A Link's Awakening. Now, I do like this game for what it is, because if you don't die, you get a very good secret ending. And if you do die, you don't get that secret ending. Plus, it's the only game where you could actually change your name out through the game. Because if you do something and you steal an item, you are considered a thief for the rest of the game. Plus, if you go back to that shop, you're guaranteed to die, which I think is pretty cool. It's one of the only Zelda games I can think of that you can do that. I think he gave this a C. I actually think it's better than a C. I think it's a B. It's not horrible, but I don't think it's that bad. There is a lot of Mario references to that, but why not? Mario's a great game too. So I give it a B. I think A Link's Awakening, I think you'll enjoy. And I agree. Especially A Link's Awakening when it came out at the DX. I never played it for the Game Boy, so I think it would have been hard because there's no color. I only played it with color, so yeah. I think if you did the DX or the normal version Game Boy, I agree with Zelda Master then. I think it would be a C or a D. But with the color, I think it's a lot easier. Alright guys, this is what made me fall in love with Zelda, by the way, and this is definitely an S ranking. I agree with Zelda Master 1000% because it was the first Zelda game I ever beat that made me love Zelda. The first Zelda game I ever beat was the one for Nintendo. Then the second one was the one that made me fall in love with this, and that is Ocarina of Time. I love that game. I agree with that. And it's funny how my two favorite games, Metal Gear Solid and Ocarina of Time, came out in the same year, 1998. Which I agree, I think Ocarina of Time did it perfectly. You started out with 3 dungeons, and then you get the Master Sword, and then you get to become adult Link compared to young Link. I think Ocarina of Time did it perfectly. There's nothing wrong with Ocarina of Time. And it's one of the few games where I get every heart container and every heart piece. Not many games I have done that in. I think a Link's Awakening I have, and a Link to the Past I have, and the first, and I believe the other 2 Zelda games I have either. So, Ocarina of Time, I've gotten everything. The only thing I haven't done is the Goron Sword, but that's not required to beat the game. Even if you don't get it, you could still beat the game. Even if you got maybe 18 or 19 heart containers, it's still easy to beat the game. But yeah, I love it for what it is. The only thing I'd say that I hate about it is the fishing. The fishing. That's the only part that's a pain in the butt in that game. Other than that, phenomenal game, S ranking. Here's a game where a lot of people are going to hate me and disagree with me. I'm not a fan of time limits. I just don't like time limits, especially when I'm in the dungeons. I know people love this game. I'm not a fan of it. I don't think it deserves an F, though. I don't disagree. I don't think it deserves an S, but I don't think it deserves an F. I would give this a C. The only reason I don't give this a higher ranking is because of the time limit. And that's the reason why Majora's Mask is not horrible, but in my eyes, it's not great either. I'm just not a fan of the time. You know, if Majora's Mask would have come out and said, you have unlimited time in the dungeon, but every other thing you do other than the dungeon is unlimited time, I think this would be maybe an A. But I don't like how you have a time limit in the dungeon. I just think time should stand still when you're in dungeons. That's just my personal opinion. That's the reason why I don't put it that much higher. So I give Majora's Mask a C. Alright, I know Oracle of Series and Oracle of Ages. I know Zelda Master gave this a pretty poor rating. I actually think it's better than what he ranked it at. I give this a B. I think Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons is a very good game because if you beat one, you get to put in a secret code and you get to copy your file onto the other game and you get a secret ending for this because of the fact that if you do both games, you can take on a character that you fought in Ocarina of Time, which is Twin Rova, because in Ocarina of Time, Twin Rova says, I'll come back to haunt you, and that actually foreshadows a game called the Oracle of Ages. So, yeah, so that's pretty cool that you get that, so you get 2 of them. Okay, I can't rank 4 Swords because I haven't played it. So I'm going to say incomplete. But I am going to do 4 Swords Adventures. I guess I could say 4 Swords gets about a D or an F just because you can't play without friends. So I guess I'll do that. The Wind Waker. I think this game is... I kind of agree with Zelda Master. I think it should be a C. I don't think it's horrible, but I don't think it's great. I agree with Zelda Master. It starts off slow, and it gets better as we progress. So I agree with Zelda Master. I think The Wind Waker is a pretty darn good game, but not great. So I definitely agree with him on that. I think The Wind Waker is definitely not one of the games up there. So I give it a C. It's not a horrible game, and I don't hate it just as much. I know Zelda Master didn't like it because of the fact, actually he gave it a B, but I think it's a C. But yeah, maybe a B. But I agree with him. I think the Wind Waker, in the beginning of the game is kind of like slow because you want to go here and you want to go there and you can't do anything. But yeah, and sadly you can't. But yeah, so I give it about a C. It's good, but not great. Okay, Four Swords Adventures. I give it about a C as well. It's not horrible, but it's not great. I know you could play by yourself, but I don't know. It's not horrible, but it's not really a great game either. So I give it a C. I mean, you can play it on your own. The Minish Cap. I give this a B. I thought Minish Cap did a very good job. It's hard to get everything in this game, but I thought it did a phenomenal job. I think it definitely did a good job, especially with the dungeons. I think it definitely deserves recognition. I give it a B. I think it's definitely worth it. So, all right. The other game that definitely deserves an S rank, and you'll never change my mind, is Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess is like Ocarina of Time. It did a great job with the game. I love it for what it is. I know it's dark, but Twilight Princess, my God, guys, when you ask what are my two favorite Zelda games, it's either Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess. I can't decide. They're both good games. They're both phenomenal. I love them both. The only good thing I can do with Ocarina of Time is Ocarina of Time I can play anywhere I go. I wish I could do that with Twilight Princess. Sadly, I can't. But it is what it is. Spirit Tracks. Actually, Phantom Hourglass. I'm going to give Phantom Hourglass a D. It's not great, but it's not horrible. But I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff in the Spirit Tracks I'm just not a fan of. I don't like the Ocean King. I know Zelda Master, I think, gave it a B. I totally disagree with that. It's definitely not up there. And I know he said we're going to hate him for it. Sorry, I just, Spirit Tracks, I actually think Spirit Tracks did a better job than Phantom Hourglass. I think Spirit Track gets a B. I just think it's a lot more better, a lot more fun, in my opinion. So I give it a B. That's just my opinion. So now I know Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask came out with a 3D version. I like them both. It's pretty cool. But obviously we're not going to rank them. But I think Majora's Mask. I think the Great Bay Temple, for example, the boss is so much easier in the Nintendo 64 version as the 3DS version. But yeah. The next game, Skyward Sword. I totally agree with Zelda Master 1000%. Skyward Sword does not deserve an S rank, but it doesn't deserve a bad ranking either. I do agree with him. If you can get over the motion controls, it's a great game. And it is. It is a great game. I love the story. I love that it's the first Zelda game. There is a lot of flaws to the game, but the characters, the bosses, it is a good game. The only thing I hated about it is you got to fight Garen 3 times, the Imprison 3 times, but I think the character development as the story goes on is great. I think the characters are great. I give it an A. I agree with Zelda Master. It is a phenomenal game. It definitely doesn't deserve an S, but it definitely does deserve an A because it is a good game and it makes you work for your prize. It sucks with the motion controls, but if you can get over if there wasn't motion controls in that game, I think it would definitely be an S rank. But A Link Between Worlds. I know Zelda Master was going to give it an S. It is a good game, but I don't think it deserves an S in my opinion. I think it definitely does deserve an A, just like A Link to the Past. It's a great game, and I know A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds is similar, and it is similar because you could do any dungeon you want in that game as long as you get all the weapons. You could do any dungeon you want, which is pretty cool. But I think the first couple is just like A Link to the Past. I think you have to do them all in order. I think you have to get the bow first in this before you can do anything else. So, but I definitely agree. I think A Link Between Worlds definitely deserves an A. So, yeah, that's just my opinion. Triforce Heroes. I think this is the worst Zelda game ever made. At first, I thought Majora's Mask was bad. No. Majora's Mask is way better than Triforce Heroes. Triforce Heroes is going to be the only game that gets an F. I don't like Triforce Heroes. I think it's horrible. I think it's awful. They just did not do a good job with this because you have to use all 3 links at the same time, and they don't go with you either, which is stupid. I think the computer should be the other links, but that's just my opinion. I'm just not a fan of it. I give it an F. Sorry. And then Breath of the Wild. I love the game because it is open world. I love the game because there's a lot you can do and you can go in any order, but I don't agree with Zelda Master. I don't think it deserves an S ranking because it lacks dungeons. It lacks bosses. That's the reason why I don't think it deserves an S. But it doesn't deserve a B or worse either. So I'm going to give Breath of the Wild an A. It's a good game, but not good enough to get an S rank, in my opinion. So I give it an A rank. That's my thoughts. What do you guys think about these games? Leave a like in your comments down below.